You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
May the flop be with you, am I right? And welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 257. I am one of your hosts, video essayist and video producer at The Gamer, Christian Macias, and I'm joined over Discord by Kentucky's #1 Spartan and PXN founder, Daniel Prindle. Dan is DTM. Hello.
Hello. It's fuzzy here on Discord.
Yeah. We also had to teach him that RN stands for right now, just before the podcast went live.
That's not true.
President of the Tifa Lockhart fan club, Don aficionado and artist extraordinaire at Roro.
Don. Hello.
What the fuck did Dan go? What's going on?
No, I'm still here. I'm just trying to fix the camera real quick.
All right. Why don't you fix? Never mind. We're live. And the third person Sigma, Gage Dempster.
How you doing, Christian?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's a little warm over here. Be a lot better if I had a little baddie on my side. A little baddie named Gage over here. Just playing some games, kicking it. Maybe having a little Sally's pizza. No. La Roses. Lola Roses. And Dan's back. It's not the pizza that I miss. I miss the memories. Just making them.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Folks, first of all, thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN, simultaneously live on twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week is Star Wars Outlaws. But first, we're not starting with topic of the show. We're starting with a little game. You guys were doing a little game in the pre-show. I figured, why not do one more game to cold open the show and wiggle out the little anxieties here. Get the words flowing, get the mind flowing. You ready? All right. This is video game ABCs. Let's figure out order real quick. I'll go first, and then Daniel, then Gage, then Ro. The category is video game protagonist. So I will start off with a character whose name starts with the letter A. Daniel will give me a protagonist with the letter B. Gage a C. Ro a D. So on and so forth. You'll have 5 seconds to answer.
5.
Oh, that's stressful.
That is stressful.
And we'll keep going. And you
Let's
know what
do
happens?
it.
You know what happens when you hit the letter Z, Zeta, Z? You start back over at A. And if you repeat something, it's game over, baby. Here we go.
Fuck.
A. Abby. Dan?
What? Oh, A.
It's over.
God.
No.
No,
I'm
no.
A.
Oh.
A. Abby. B.
Fuck. I don't know. B? Fuck. I don't know. This is too much pressure.
All right. Well, we lost already. Gage and Ron didn't even get to go. We'll just go straight over into Star Wars Outlaws. Jesus.
I was
All
trying-
right,
I
how
was
about
also-
this? Here. I'll make
I was
it easier
locked and
for
ready to go with my C.
Me too.
I was ready.
After that, I was doomed, but I had my D.
How about this? We'll give it one more shot. We'll do video game titles. A, B, C, D. So far, so far.
Oh, that'll be easy. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I can't come up with anything for A. so somebody else wants to start it off. You got one for A. Please go ahead. Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, there you go. Borderlands 2.
Chivalry 2.
Nice. Diablo 4.
Hey.
Enter the Gungeon.
Freedom Fighters.
Ghost of Tabor.
What?
What?
Halo.
Ghost of Tsushima, you mean?
Oh, I thought it was J. Indica.
Jackbox.
Killer Instinct.
Fuck. Can I? Last of Us.
Minecraft.
Need for Speed. Hot
Let's
Pursuit.
go.
Octopath Traveler.
Psychonauts.
Hubert.
Resident Evil 4.
Sudoku.
That's not a video game, you fuck.
Sam Fisher.
That's not a video game.
No,
It's
I'm
not a
helping
video
you. I'm helping you.
Oh, Splinter Cell. Right.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Tetris.
Undertale.
Fuck. V.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Valheim.
Oh,
Wow.
huge.
Right at the last minute.
Incredible.
Oh, W. What's it gonna be? That's tough. I don't know. WWE. Any of them? It's 17.
Stupid ass.
X? What?
Good luck with that.
I got one.
Oh, I do too, actually. I just thought of it. Yeah.
Is there an X-Men video game?
There is.
God damn it.
There is.
I don't know. The
What
X-Men
just
video
came
game.
out, Ro? What just came out?
What just came out?
The movie that just came out.
Oh, the Deadpool one.
And who was in that with Deadpool?
Wolverine. Am I W?
No, you're
No.
X.
Yeah.
You're X. It starts with
I don't know.
What's
I
this
think
what's this guy on about? What is he trying to
It's
say?
maybe X-Men
X-Men
Origins
Origins
Wolverine.
Wolverine, right?
Oh,
Oh, that's a movie, but sure.
No, there's a video game tie-in as well.
There's a
That's
video
when
game?
they-
Oh.
That's when they did all those. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
was
thinking XCOM was the one I would go with.
That's a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
X-Men.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Did not think of that.
I don't have one for why, so let's just go into the topic of the show. You ready?
Oh
That
my
was fun.
god.
I like
Tight
that.
show today, boys. Tight show.
Oh, that's right. Here we go. Here we go. Tight hour. Here we go. Starting now. Star Wars Outlaws is a game released just this past weekend. What a way to introduce that game, huh? Published by Ubisoft and developed by Massive Entertainment, the developers of the Division series. Star Wars Outlaws, though, of course, not a multiplayer game. It's a single-player game. You play as Kay Vess, a bounty hunter, set in the Star Wars universe. And it released to some mixed acclaim. I guess not mixed acclaim, just mixed reception. It's not being acclaimed. It's very much right in the middle. You're 7 out of 10, if you wanted to call it that. And so what I have done real quick is gone through and gotten some open critic roundups. This will come back later in another one of our segments. But we can get a quick overview as to what the critics are saying of this game. Currently, by the way, 77 average on Open Critic. So it's not like it's a total slog of a game. IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, and they said Star Wars Outlaws is a fun intergalactic heist adventure with great exploration, but it's hindered by simple stealth, repetitive combat, and a few too many bugs at launch. Eurogamer down not so hot on the game, gave it a 2 out of 5, and they said Massive bravely peels away the many layers of Ubisoft open world isms in Star Wars Outlaws. It's a fatal error. And then the reverse is that Rolling Stone's gaming section gave it, I actually don't know if they have a score for it, but they did give it some high praise. They said it's one of the best Star Wars games ever made. With a scoundrel sense of wonder and wit, it nails the vibe of a galaxy far, far away. I'll quickly cover some of the pros and cons of the game. The pros is that it's a very lived-in Star Wars game where you can land on a planet and walk around the cities and do like activities that I think that I mentioned from my time in Summer Game Fest, where you can like do like betting and like interact with like characters that are like side quest things and go into cantinas, like kind of immerse yourself in the Star Wars universe without it being like an action Jedi focused game, which is different that from a video game perspective, not one that we get often anymore. There was another pro that I wanted to mention here. Now let's go over to the cons. The cons is that like the gameplay is kind of generic. Gameplay is whatever. exploration. Sorry, excuse me. Stealth, as IGN mentioned, is like not tight, and that there's a lot of forced stealth sections early on in the game that make it kind of, if that's not what you're into, it's kind of a slog to get through. And it seems like the game just wasn't ready to go. There was still a lot of polish that needed to be made, but the game has been cooking for a couple of years, and Ubisoft's like, this is good enough, let's get it out the door. And they only gave reviewers about a week, which really is like 5 working days to play the game, and then much less time to write a review and have a video review ready to go before it went up. So, of course, I think that does influence reviews a little bit in terms of like how people experience the game playing it. And yeah, we're sitting at about a 7 out of 10. I want to know your guys' thoughts on what Outlaws is looking like from the outside before we even talk about like how people even talk about 7 out of 10s anymore nowadays.
Yeah, as someone who saw the game and thought it looked enjoyable, I'm kind of disappointed by the scores that it's been getting. I know that 7 out of 10 is good. So the general consensus is that it's good, but from what I've seen for the gameplay with the bugs and just it just generally not being ready, that's a little bit disappointing. I saw like Kind of Funny gave it like a 4 out of 10 as well. They were really down on it.
Yeah, that was Greg.
That was Greg. Okay, so not the entire. Was that the final score as well, or was that?
Well, they do reviews different. They do reviews different now. It's per person, not per site. So okay. Greg gave it a 4 out of 10.
Gotcha. Okay, but yeah, a little disappointed, but not surprised, I guess. Even though I was interested in it because of the type of Star Wars story they're doing, but. Not being a huge Ubisoft fan, I'm not super surprised. I was hoping for better, as I'm sure every gamer would hope.
I think it's interesting too because like some of the reviews that I'm reading like will say that like this game doesn't follow the Ubisoft normal for their open world, and then some of the reviews I read said that this is very much just a Ubisoft open world game, and I'm just like, I don't know which one it actually is at this point, and like now I'm almost curious just to play it to see, because I can't even picture what a Ubisoft open world game is without having all of those tropes that they're known for.
Right. There was a Ubisoft formula that they have, right? And we see in like Assassin's Creed games that like and like for better or worse, like it is something that works for them and helps them kind of churn out is not the right word, but you know what I mean, helps them develop games on a tighter deadline. Let's say that. I haven't thought of Massive as someone who has ever had a Ubisoft formula in like their Division games, even though they're published by Ubisoft as well, right? I wouldn't think that this would be the same either. I remember the other pro. I'm sorry, my fault. There's the reputation system in the game where like there's no matter what decision you make in the game, like when you're doing some kind of main or side quest, often it'll end with like some kind of choice. If you choose one thing, you'll gain favor, with one of the like gangs in the game, and you'll lose favor with another, and that is going to like dictate how enemies respond to you when you're out in the open world. And then if you go to like their hideout, sometimes you'll get attacked if you try to go in, or you can get welcomed in, and you'll get like discounts when you go to like stores and stuff if you have like more favorable reputation with them. So the reputation system in the game seems like it's better received. Sorry, back to you guys.
Well, the only other thing I was going to add, like you're talking about the reputation system, I think that's kind of what makes like games like Red Dead so great, because like the world feels so alive, and I feel like that kind of stuff makes the world feel more alive, like the things you're doing in the game actually matter. So like if that's actually if those systems are deep enough to the extent of like having meaningful impacts on the story, I think that could be very, very interesting. But obviously I don't know how it actually how it lands. But I guess my question is, should I keep this $39.99 pre-order that I got from QVC when I think you sent that in our DMs, Christian?
$40 isn't... I sent this? I don't remember.
I think so. Yeah, it was a discount.
Okay, Dan, hold that thought. That's actually my next question. Is it okay? I don't know if you guys feel the same, but like coverage around games that are less than great have been really weird recently in the past couple of years, where anything less than an 8, even though it's a good game, like by definition, 7 out of 10 is still good. There are good qualities about it. There are a couple of faults, sure, valid. If that's not something that you're interested in, totally fair. But the way people talk about them nowadays, even like a couple of critics, like in their reviews, sounds like it's something that's like not worth your time at all, which is a really weird place to be in how you like consume is the wrong word either, but how you experience. If you want to talk about games as art, how you want to experience art. Not everything is going to be a masterpiece, right? Like, it's okay for some games to have jank around them. Jedi Survivor, great game. Not Remedy. Is it Remedy? Who's the developer? Respawn, tons of jank around those games as well, right? But like that doesn't stop you from enjoying a solid Jedi game. If there are more issues here, totally fair, totally buggy. I'm totally with people that are like, if you want to wait for a sale, absolutely. You should not waste full money on a game that like was not ready to ship. But at the same time, also like it's a really weird place to be to like, as someone who's like in the critic space a little bit, like have people be like, yeah, there are good like. You list off a couple of good things about it, and then completely shift where it's like, well, it's not really like worth your time. You should wait, and it's not something that you should pick up right now. It's a weird place to be in, or it's the opposite way too, where I'm kind of in. Since I'm on like the back end, I look at a lot of YouTube comments on stuff that like I do for work, and a lot of comments online. If you praise a game nowadays, you'll see comments like, "So how much did they pay you?"
Right.
And especially for Star Wars Outlaws, if you have an opinion where you're a bit more favorable on it, and people are Star Wars fans out there, man. Like people fucking love Star Wars as an IP. Of course, they're gonna enjoy it, like existing in a Star Wars universe. And if they say that, how much did Ubisoft pay you? It's a crazy time to live in.
I think there's two different things to address here. One, the dismissal of integrity after a positive review, I feel like has been happening a lot longer than the whole 7 out of 10 issue. Like I feel like that's something that's been happening for as long as I've been reading reviews, where IGN gives something a 10 out of 10, and if you look in the comments immediately, somebody's like, "Oh, you were bought, you were paid for," all the way back to The Last of Us, the first Last of Us game. So like that's been happening for a long time, and I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure that's anywhere, right? If you read a car magazine and somebody gives a Ford a really good review, it's like, "Oh, how much did Ford pay you?" I feel like that's something that just happens. I don't know why. But to your original point of the 7 out of 10s being treated like it's sort of like not worth your time if something doesn't score, an 8.5 or higher. I'm curious. I don't know the answer to why that happens and why it's gotten worse over the last few years. But I do wonder if it has anything to do with, this is charitable thinking, the fact that video games feel so expensive nowadays. I wonder if that's putting an increased burden on sort of the, well, if you're gonna spend $79.99, this game's gonna have to hit out. Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thinking. I wonder if that seeped into the consciousness of video game review discussions at all.
And like AA games we've talked about many times before, like the AA game essentially doesn't even really exist anymore. Like your THQs and such.
This looks like a AA game, like of a bygone era. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Something that like my boss and I talk about is the Last of Us effect, and every time we say that, it's like it's a negative connotation. That's why I'm bringing it up now. Like post The Last of Us, like specifically for Sony, everything needed to be like this blockbuster style, like AAA marquee game for them. And like that has like I think kind of seeped its way into like gaming in general, where like, yeah, of course if you're gonna spend like $100 on a game, it better be a game of the year contender. We're always looking for the next big thing. Games take forever to make, so this better be big, right? And that's not always the case. Sometimes things fall short, right? It doesn't mean we shouldn't experience them, right? Or think about them in a different way. I watched a Nikki Jakey video last week. His video was called "In Defense of 7 out of 10s." That really got me thinking about like the way I experience games that are like doing something else, right? And in it, he was talking about how like games like Ghost Recon Wildlands scored really bad, and like Dying Light 2 scored really bad because the narrative wasn't good, and then a couple of other things he mentioned. But he's like, yeah, that's fair. Like if you're gonna like, of course, like the story fucking sucks, and that's valid, right? but I'm not playing these games for the story. Like I'm not judging these games on like a wide template of like has to check off the story, has to check off X, Y, and Z. Like I'm in it to fucking fight zombies with my friends and have like a stupid time. I know I'm expecting this out of this game, and therefore like my review of this game would skew a bit higher because I'm getting what I'm expecting out of the game, not what I'm expecting it to be in terms of like what an art piece or another like, you know, Sony game would kind of be. And that got me thinking about like the way we talk about games in general. And I would think that would apply to something like this, the return of the 7 out of 10 games that we kind of forget about.
Yeah, and I think it like exactly what Nicky Jakey said. Like he was expecting something different out of it, so that 7 out of 10 good is maybe a little bit better for him, but it's still a good game. I think everybody who sees the 7 out of 10 just has to understand what they're getting into, and it's a 7 out of 10 because the story is bad, but it might be good for the reasons that he enjoyed it. And I think as someone who saw these reviews, as someone who looks at as games as art, as number one, I was like, oh, it's good. So that means they did a good job. They checked most of the boxes. There's still some issues, but as the consumer part of me, it immediately goes from a must play to a wait for a sale when I see 7 out of 10. Instead of like when it's 8 out of 10, 9, 10, it's like, okay, I need to play this now. But when it goes below that, it's like, okay, I can wait. But the other side of me, the art side of me is like, okay, this is still a great piece of work that so you just have to know what you're getting out of it.
If I may, Black Myth Wukong came out like what, a week ago now? A game that is basically like a glorified UE5 tech demo, right? That is like not really a Souls-like, but like the open world part of the game, the linear levels part of the world is like underbaked, not fully realized. It's janky. You know, they didn't bother with like lip synchronization for English if you're playing that game in English. And really, you're only playing it for the like boss rush fights, and even that sometimes can get a bit repetitive. But people know that, right? And so they go, why is Dan smiling?
I'll explain after you finish your thoughts.
Okay. And people are going into that game, at least like consumer side, going like, yeah, we know it's like it has all these faults, but we're going into it for like the character action aspect of the game, which can really shine. And they're perfectly content with that, and they're having a great time with it. But like that is like another 7 out of 10 game. You have the exact same thing, I think, with Star Wars Outlaws, where like there's going to be a crowd of people who are like into it for like wanting more Star Wars, and that'll work perfectly fine for them.
Yeah, which is so interesting because I looked it up real quick. Black Myth Wukong only has 4 points higher on OpenCritic than Star Wars Outlaws, but Star Wars Outlaws is 3 points higher on the critics recommend. So there's an average versus recommend, which I find that very fascinating. That more, I guess, critics recommend it, but also like it makes me think of the connotations we get from certain games depending on where we get our sources from. Like the casual gamer, for instance, like I hear this all the time from my cousins that are very casual gamers. They play like Call of Duty and that kind of stuff, and they basically get their information just from their other friends, and if they don't like something, then they won't like something. And it's like,
right,
it's almost like you get this point where you have the snowball effect where people don't like it for X reason, and then it just snowballs until, you know, all these people don't like it because of X reason, even if they may not necessarily believe that if they were to actually play the game. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, even with all the controversies we have about, you know, reviews and journalistic integrity and all that stuff, like word of mouth is an extremely imperfect sort of way that games either gain traction or lose traction, right? Because you're totally right. If a certain group of people get their information from one person who's slightly more in the know, and that person either does or doesn't like a game, that can impact that sort of friend group either digging the game, not digging the game, and then you multiply that by, you know, thousands of people, and it all ends up different with each game.
The point is, experience what you want to experience. Experience every game with a little qualifier, a little grain of salt. Anyway, are you ready to talk about another 7 out of 10 game in our news of the week?
I am.
Wow.
Concord has launched officially globally on PlayStation and PC, and 1 billion people have played it over the weekend. It's the biggest game ever released. No, unfortunately, that game has struggled quite a bit. It is one of the worst, I think. Not review. How do you even? The player base numbers are not what they should be for a first party backed, partnership live service game. Yes, thank you, Dan. Numbers for the weekend were sub 1,000 concurrent players on Steam. I think for the launch day was around 700. Saturday was around 500, and then I think people were struggling to get numbers for Sunday, but it was about the same. And consensus on Concord is that it's another game that is competent. It's good, even can be very fun, but like in 2024 is not the inspired game it needs to be for someone to pay $40 for. And I found something interesting that I shared on Twitter, which is I don't know where these are. I think they're in game. There are stylized, like, animated shorts of the Concord, like, characters, like little movies you can watch. And Gene Park was like, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, the Sony effect of the game, or, like, the influence, like, having a realism be, like, front and center in Concord, actually kind of took away some of the, like, heart and soul that the game kind of had. If you look at the difference between the character models of Concord proper between the like animated versions, like, wow, actually, if the game maybe looked like this, I wonder how it would have been received. And that's something I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's absolutely more like it's night and day in terms of appeal with the 2D animation style. And it doesn't have to be 2D; it just has to look a little bit more, I don't know, colorful and inviting, I guess, than what they decided to use. But it's like you said, the whole Sony post Last of Us effect, as we were talking about before, where everything has to look like this realistic style for Sony for some reason, outside of Astrobot. But I think like they have a certain type of audience, and when they're trying to reach a certain type of audience, they think, no, we can't do that for them because they won't like that. So they do that.
Which is, yeah, that's super unfortunate because you kind of lose like a game's identity at that point. I feel like, or like its uniqueness. Like every game should have that unique factor of why you're playing that game or why that game looks that way or whatever.
8 years in development, over $200 million. That's crazy, dude.
That's rough. Again, and it sucks too because based off the footage I've seen, like this is not a game that I would expect to have this disastrous of a launch. Like this is it seems, I could be wrong, and again the waters are muddy because it's like, okay, well, do you count indies? What kind of games do you count? But like you said, for a major first party backed game, I can't think of a more disastrous launch in recent memory in terms of the amount of players playing on launch day. And to be fair, I don't think as of right now we have the PlayStation numbers, so maybe it's doing a little bit better. But on Steam, what was it, 700 peak on launch day? That is. I really don't wish that for the team. Like that sucks. That absolutely sucks. The game does not look that bad. Like it looks like a totally competent shooter, but just, man, I don't know what the hell happened.
Well, we'll never get numbers, but we can. Sorry, Dan, real quick. We can look at like PlayStation best-selling charts.
Okay.
And it is around the 30s or 40s, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to pull up a specific number, but I can't get that for you. It's doing okay, but in context, it's also lower than a lot of games that have released over the past couple of years. Like a lot of other games are outselling.
Right.
A brand new released Sony-backed game. So, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, kind of on the back of perceptions again, like for a brand new franchise, I wouldn't expect there to be a massive divide of players on PC versus PlayStation because this franchise hasn't existed before. Like, I understand like games that launch, if it was previously a PlayStation console shooter or something, and they were bringing a sequel out and it was on both platforms, I would understand the argument of, yes, this platform has 600, maybe PlayStation has like 40 times that. But the fact that this is a new IP, I feel like that argument is less weighted because you have the same target audience essentially on PC and PlayStation, arguably more on PC, depending on I don't know exact numbers of how many PCs are out there, but I feel like that should be relatively even theoretically.
Sure. All this to say before we move on to the next item, everyone please be excited for Fair Games, the other PlayStation PvP live service game. Okay. We gotta keep talking about live service, unfortunately. Marathon is having some troubles. In a new report from Bloomberg today, in March, top Bungie employee and former Marathon director Chris Barrett suddenly left the company. Barrett was fired after an HR investigation found that he had behaved inappropriately with at least 8 female employees, Bloomberg has learned. Speaking to Bloomberg, multiple women who reported Barrett said he would text them frequently, make suggestive comments, and ask to play Truth or Dare. The women said his advances were unwarranted and that they felt uncomfortable because he was significantly more powerful at Bungie. In a statement to Bloomberg, Barrett said he, quote, never understood my communications to be unwarranted, and I would have never thought they could possibly have made anyone feel uncomfortable, end quote. A lot of trouble at Bungie nowadays, man. A lot of trouble with Marathon specifically. Lots to question about with this company over the past couple of months.
Yeah, this makes a lot more sense now because in March when this happened, people were like, "What the hell?" Because the Marathon trailer was literally like almost a year to the date of him being let go, and people were like, "What the fuck is going on with Marathon that they're changing the game director?" Well, this makes a lot more sense that these awful things have now come out, and. Like, the unfortunate thing is this man has worked there since fucking 1999. He worked there through the Myth years, through all the Halo games. So yeah, that's a little rough that someone like that was in that studio for so long, and quite possibly is part of the problem of what Bungie's been dealing with lately with leadership.
You think it'd be less hard to be just like a little bit normal?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Super easy.
Just don't be a weirdo. Just don't be a fucking weirdo.
Asking people if you want to play Truth or Dare is wild.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like,
How old are you?
Right.
Oh my god. Crazy.
Christian, you want to play Truth or Dare later?
Were we making fun of you this weekend or something? Or like you sound like someone who would say truth and not dare?
Probably, yeah, I think so.
That sounds like a jab that you would make. That absolutely sounds like a jab that you would make.
Yeah. Because why would you pick truth? Where are we going next? Call of Duty, their next event started today, and with it, we've gotten a lot of news. We got to look at all the 16 multiplayer maps that are coming out today. Also had a new trailer for the Liberty Falls, one of the zombie maps available at launch. And also a thing that Dan is really excited about that he was saying, wouldn't it be cool if this officially got revealed?
I think Gage said that, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, we were all excited after Gage said that, though. Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, it got revealed that you can grab someone in Warzone or multiplayer and have almost like a bodyguard, like a body shield, excuse me. And you can use them as a body shield to keep shooting whatever. Today we learned that if you do grab someone, it opens up proximity chat with the person you grab. So if you're playing in the game, not in a party, you're in a public lobby, you can then talk to the person you're holding, which I think is pretty neat. You guys excited for that?
That was great. Sounds great.
Yeah, because we were talking about the spies versus mercs in Splinter Cell, and that being so fucking cool back in the day, being able to grab hold of your merc as a spy and just talk to him like, "Hey, buddy, you didn't see that I was right behind you the whole time." That's really cool. Obviously, Call of Duty lobbies, it's gonna be fucking much different than that. It's not gonna be, "Hey, buddy," it's gonna be, "Fuck you." Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
But I feel like it'll be a great equalizer because it's also another opportunity for somebody to get themselves banned that they didn't have before.
Right.
So you'll have the funny meme moments, which are wholesome, even if they're vulgar. You'll have the funny meme moments where somebody grabs you and says some fucking, weird shit. But then you have the idiots that'll just like, it's like, cool, you've just taken the opportunity to get yourself banned before it came up in public chat. So that works. I feel like it's all gonna work out.
Yep.
Couple of more news items from Black Ops coming out today. Warzone's getting a rank play. Verdansk is coming back next year, which is crazy, man. Whatever. I'm not gonna talk about that. Multiplayer progression system is much like is pre Modern Warfare 2, the new one, where each weapon has their own individual attachments that you have to unlock, and not the way that they did it, where you would have to it was shared attachments. You'd have to level them up.
Right.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Did anyone watch clips from the new Zombies map, Liberty Falls?
I watched a small. I don't know if it was the official thing. I watched the trailer and then I watched maybe 3 or 4 minutes of just gameplay.
What are your thoughts? I've been watching kind of some clips here and there, pretty much throughout the day. What are you thinking? I know we're excited for Zombies, but what are your immediate thoughts after seeing Liberty Falls specifically?
See, I see the sentiment online that people are down on it. I'm taking them at their word because they have publicly stated that they designed this map as a Zombies map first. It wasn't taken from other things. It wasn't taken from campaign. Sure. They made this map first because I know people were comparing this multiplayer map. If anything, it looks like maybe that was just inspired by mutual assets, shared assets. So with that in mind, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think that a map like this, because people were saying oh, it's like Modern Warfare, it's Modern Warfare Zombies all over again. It's not even close to the size of a Battle Royale map. It is big for a Zombies map. I don't know. I would be lying if I just wasn't excited to have multiple Zombies maps at launch again. I'm excited to get back into the grind. I don't think the map looks super offensive to me. I haven't seen anything that turns me off. It could be a little bit more, gross and zombies-like for sure. But in terms of the gameplay and how it feels to move around the map, I like the idea of having, again, not a recycled Battle Royale map, but a somewhat larger map where maybe instead of just going straight to that one room that everybody trains in, there's multiple areas that you can do that in, but it's still a round-based proper Zombies game mode. That to me is appealing. We'll see if that is actually what it feels like when you're playing it, but that's why I'm kind of more hopeful. I'm waiting to see how it feels.
Which is respectable. It's the right answer. Waiting to see how it plays out is 100% the right answer because this is all reactionary. We're just basing this off just how it looks. How it looks though, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little bit down because aesthetically,
yes,
it does look like something pulled out of multiplayer or Warzone. Even though it isn't, even just the act of moving around and seeing the environments doesn't scream Zombies to me. And that was worse than when I saw damage numbers and health bars pop up, which I'm sure you can probably turn off. It's no big deal. But off the rip, it was a negative first impression, which was a bummer. But again, just hearing that it is a Zombies first map, and there's some cool things that you can find throughout the map, interdimensional things where I think the art gets a lot more inspired. Yeah, it's kind of a wait and see for me to see how it all shakes out once you finally go ahead. Yeah.
No, sorry. Were you finishing your thought?
You got real excited. You perked up. I want to know what for.
I just thought so. Looking at it from the reverse mindset, I can totally see them saying that this is, a Zombies first map, which I totally believe. However, I feel like a lot of the elements of the map, at least from what we've seen here, are kind of generic in my opinion, that they basically made these assets that they may use some of these assets for Warzone after the fact. So when they go back to Verdansk, maybe they have a new area that's like that has some of these elements in it, like the sign for the gas station, or various things. So not that it's a horrible thing, but I don't know.
I agree with what you're saying. I feel like maybe if they had leaned into it more, where there was maybe, and this would be more controversial, maybe people wouldn't like this, but everything does seem a little bit cookie cutter and fresh and clean. And like, I wonder if maybe if they had leaned more into the day one aspect, where maybe there's interactive elements on the map where you're seeing shit kind of just go off the rails, and maybe there's like, even if you can't interact with them in any sort of meaningful way, maybe there's NPCs running away from fucking zombies. Like it seems like they're trying to go for the day one thing, but it doesn't really quite work for the reasons that you're saying, that everything kind of feels a little bit too clean and a little bit too pristine, and you can't help but think of the realistic side of that, where it's like, yeah, they are probably doing that so that they can reuse these assets. So I can't help but wonder if maybe they had either A, made everything dark and dingy and gross, then that would have been fine for a lot of people, or B, if they had just committed to like, okay, well, this is going to be day one, maybe at the start of every round, even though it plays like regular zombies, there's just a bunch of people that are running around screaming, and it's kind of like a atmosphere immersive type thing.
Or even better, the people get bit and then they turn.
Right, as like a little thing that you could witness happen. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Gonna be a wait and see. It's gonna be a wait and see for me.
I will say that you're saying the damage numbers are bothering you. That's been introduced for a while now, and it started even in the round-based one. So that's not really something that like is tied with Modern Warfare Zombies or the big open world ones. Like they were doing that in Cold War and the one before that.
And the zombies no one likes. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hey man, Cold War was great. I like Cold War.
I did hear Cold War Zombies is pretty good. I'm just being a dick.
Are people online saying this map is massive, by the way, when you guys were talking about that? Because I thought that the first map they showed, Terminus, was fucking massive. I thought that was like...
That one seems bigger, but both of them are nowhere near... Yes, people are being haters and saying it's like Modern Warfare Zombies all over again.
Yeah,
but they're nowhere near as big as the Battle Royale map.
Okay. Last thing on Call of Duty is that you can now preload the beta on Xbox. I will say, I did this today during the workday, and it took me a little bit to figure out how to download the beta without downloading Call of Duty, because it prioritizes that, and that's like 160. Yeah, I had to really get in the menus to adjust the beta pack, whatever, and then it's down to 70, which I think is much more manageable. All right. We're gonna do... Where are we going? Do quick bites and then street meet. Here we go. Some quick bites. We had a Nintendo Direct this week. Not a lot of waves coming out of this one, I think. I pretty much like would routinely scroll throughout the day to see if I miss anything, and I never really saw anything come across my feed. Just a couple of things that I want to highlight. The first is Balatro. Not its first major update, that's next year, but it has a smaller update. It's getting a Friends of Jimbo update. 4 franchises are crossing over with Balatro, The Witcher, Among Us, Vampire Survivors, and Dave the Diver, that each have their several decks inspired by those games. And that update was that day, so I think it's already live as well. Is there anything that you guys saw that maybe... I linked a little GameSpot article, see if there's anything that you guys were kind of into. I know Pizza Tower's getting something on Switch. Sorry, it's just coming to Switch, excuse me. Star Overdrive was the other game I was interested in. Kind of an indie game, character action game, and you kind of traverse the world on a hoverboard, movement-based. Looks cool.
Yeah, there wasn't too much out of this one for me either. It felt like a very specific type of person. I did like the Legend of Heroes Trails of the Sky remake, because that game has been on my backlog for years at this point, and I've started and stopped it so many times. So it's cool that it's getting a remake and just experience it that way. And Dragon Quest III, the 2D HD, looks pretty, and that's kind of it. I heard about the My Sims thing, which is the only Sims game that I played back in the day. But it's not a remake. It's like a re-release of the old games. So that's okay. I don't need to play it.
How could I forget that Lego Horizon confirmed that it has a release date of this holiday, and then the release date leaked, and it's November 14th, seemingly.
And Yakuza Kiwami is coming to the Switch, so that's kind of cool too.
I mean, there's a lot of shit, There's a lot of cool announcements, SNK stuff. But yeah, very cool. PlayStation. You looking for a price reduction before the PlayStation 5 Pro? And you're in Japan? You're listening to PXN? You're a very niche person? You better hurry up and get out there because PlayStation 5s in Japan are going up by 19%. This is the third time they are going up in that region, which is crazy that they've gone up so many times. But apparently economic factors are a thing where like the price of the yen is really hurting just anything over in Japan right now. I don't know how much of that will factor into that. It sucks. It very much sucks that these consoles are like 5 years old and like you're paying like more than $100 for them than when you would have a couple of years ago. The response was that you have until September 2nd for that to take effect, and retailers subsequently sold out of their PS5s because someone wanted to pay more for that.
Right.
Crazy. We have something else on the PS5 Pro, but not until Street Meet. The next thing that came out this week, quick bite here. Black Myth Wukong reportedly skipped Xbox because of optimization issues with the Series S, citing a memory leak. That to be the reason. A lot of hearsay with the Series S. If this is true, it's a bummer. I know we've talked about this before. I know some devs have like been off the record talking about this at various conventions over the past year. Like they don't particularly like the Series S because of how difficult it is to optimize for that console specifically. But there's nothing ever really on the record of that yet. Right. So always a grain of salt there. But like if that is the case, it's a bummer because like there could be a lot of great games that would be available for more Xbox players to play that are just keep skipping the console. Case in point, I think one of the Capcom games recently announced.
And I think for various amount of reasons too, because Baldur's Gate 3 of course skipped Xbox didn't skip, but had to delay the Xbox versions because of optimization issues with the Series S. And then they actually, after they finally figured out the Series S version, actually said that they found more optimizations for the game for everyone else on the other platforms as a result of that, which is kind of the other side of it. But what's interesting is I feel like, at least some of the issue with that has been Microsoft's policy of making sure that every feature is feature parity across Series S and X, which I think, as we see now, it's not completely reasonable to expect developers to have feature parity. Is that, that's kind of a difficult thing to market to your gamer that's buying your console if you don't have feature parity, but also if your developers aren't developing games for it because of the feature parity clause that you have. It's a double-edged sword, I think. And it's a problem that I don't think is going to go away because with the rumors of them building their handheld console and that supposedly being their lower-end console for next generation, I think it's going to be something we're going to have to continue to look at and see what's going to happen.
More on that in a second, Dan. Actually, right here, meme gene scene. La la lu. We got news on Metal Gear Solid Delta, the Snake Eater remake. Quick tidbit on that, Dan. I don't think. And now we'll save that for a second. We'll save that for streaming. Okay. We have confirmation that the game will release at a resolution, two options. Quality mode with 4K 30 FPS, and then a performance mode targeting 1080p / higher frame rate. Whatever that means. That points probably 40. The game is not going to run at 60, which is why I sent a message to the PXN chat saying, "Welcome back, PS4 Pro." I don't know what it is. nowadays. I'm not the kind of guy that's like every game needs to be 60. It'd be nice, sure, you know, but like we're at a point where like I don't think visuals are entirely like to the point where like the experience of playing on TVs that like cost a lot of money and have high refresh rates or monitors with high refresh rates, games aren't keeping up with that anymore. Like, what are we prioritizing?
Right.
Actually, and if that like the other like some of the older games like MGS2, of course, that ran at 60, and it looks fucking fantastic because of their art direction. I don't know, man. I don't know if I need my Metal Gear Solid 3 to run at 4K 30 per se. I'd rather have like a little bit of. I want games to run well.
Right.
And I mean, more options. I don't understand, you know, more options should never be a bad thing. Like, why can't we have a 60 FPS version that at whatever resolution it needs to be at? I don't know what resolution that is. Just let us have that option. Because as we saw with Starfield, we were told at launch that it wasn't going to be possible, basically, or at that time it wasn't possible. And then fast forward 6 months, we get a 60 FPS version. Same thing with Redfall. We got a year later, and I think we just need to let the games bake and finish what product we have and give people the option to play at whatever they want. Like if they want to play at 60 FPS, let them play at 60 FPS and adjust the resolution or textures or whatever you need to adjust.
Right.
I have a question for you guys because Avowed this week also confirmed to run at 30 FPS. I forget which interview it was, but one of the developers from Avowed stated that like for launch, that's the goal. Like they're one of the frame rates is one of the last things they're worried about, which I think I'm actually is kind of fair because as long as they know that's their target, they don't want to push for 60. Like they're like it's a first person RPG, borderline kind of immersive sim kind of stuff. If that's the goal to like optimize for that kind of experience, that I think makes sense to me on paper. I don't know if I would need 60 out of that experience. Like if you know, like a Prey 2017, like another immersive sim. If their kind of aesthetic that they're chasing for is something a bit more cinematic, that would make sense there.
Well, and the other thing that I feel like a lot of developers are just like, well, I'm not going to fucking acknowledge this. The Last of Us Part 1 had a fantastic mode that only a couple of developers have utilized since then, which was 40 frames per second with VRR on if you have a 120 hertz display. And that mode was, in my opinion, the best mode because you got great visuals and the 40 FPS. It doesn't sound like a huge increase over 30, but when you actually play it, it actually feels completely different than it feels so much better. So I'm hoping Avowed does that because they did make mention of 40 FPS mode, and I'm hoping Avowed does that. But I wish more games would give us that option also because I feel like that's a very underrated option. And you know, partly probably because not a lot of people still have HDMI 2.1 displays that have VRR.
Fair. Yeah. That's so funny that I said, oh, if a game wants to be cinematic, that's fine. Let it be 30. And I completely was like, oh, MGS3 doesn't need to be. MGS should be 60. Like one of the most like cinematic fucking games. I'm so stupid. Whatever. We move on. Our final quick bite. On the reverse end, an invite only fucking up until last week hidden game, a secret game, Valve's next game, Deadlock, has now hit just shy of 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, in the low 90s. But it's invite-based, and those codes are going out like crazy, so I'm sure it'll hit 100K pretty soon. We haven't played, I don't think any of us yet. Maybe Gage has. I think he like has a couple of minutes in that game. Yeah, more thoughts maybe next week.
Gage, how's your couple?
I would like to reserve my thoughts until the lads squad up with me. Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, press speed pause. Press speed pause. All right, final street meet, our only street meet here before we move on to our final closing topics. Word has gone around, specifically in Germany over at Gamescom, that developers are delaying games to release after the launch of PS5 Pro launch because they don't want to be optimizing for another. We have a game come out now and then have to go in and patch a second time for an update once the PS5 Pro releases. I'm telling you right now, man. I don't think Metal Gear Solid is coming this year.
You want to make a bet?
It's already whatever you want. It's already a pretty crowded November, December. Seems like they haven't even announced the fucking frame rate for one of their modes yet. They don't know yet.
True. That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gage knows a game that's not coming out this year that they're going to push because of this as well. Right, Gage?
Listen, I'm holding on to it, Dan. If it does,
it doesn't even exist. That game doesn't exist anymore.
You could do what I did last year, which is hold on to it until like 2 weeks before the year ended.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more drops. I think I'm stuck with it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. He has drops, but he doesn't have drops for games that will not release this year. He can drop games that will release this year still.
I tried to do that and it didn't let me. Or maybe I didn't find the right menu. Maybe I'll get you to walk me through that.
Oh. Okay.
What are we doing here? We're still in Street Meet, so why don't we go over into our fantasy draft check-in? There's been some movement this week. Let's start off with some pickups. Daniel finally completed, I think, his entire sheet of games for the year with a DLC, Persona 3 Reload, episode Aegis, The Answer, which I told him in chat. Ro, I don't know why you lied to him. This is a divisive. Go ahead, Dan.
100% picked this up because of our conversation last week, Ro. So this is you might have did some diabolical shit to me, but you know what? I'm saying fuck it.
You picked. Oh, obviously you picked it up, but yeah, it was not intentional. I was obviously misinformed.
Oh no. Fuck.
Oh, wow.
I don't have any money left, Ro.
We will see.
It could be an improvement.
Exactly. You know, P3 Reload, people loved it. So we'll see what Atlas has cooking for this standalone DLC. And if they did improve some of the complaints that they had when the standalone originally released, people did not like back then.
I will say that it's probably not looking good because people are I don't think it came out yet, but people are upset about the pricing of the DLC at the very least on Steam.
Yeah, it's not included
Huge
with
play,
the
huge fucking play.
Wait a minute. That's fair. That is fair for the gamer, but I don't think critics usually care about that.
That's fair.
No, they get it for free.
I mean, to an extent. I don't think that critics are gonna fucking destroy it for the price.
We'll see.
I hope you're wrong, Dan.
What? Yeah, we'll see.
I'm manifesting a 64 on OpenCritic.
I'll still beat you.
It'll be in the 70s, I'm sure. I am sure. I don't think it was the slam dunk he thought it was going to be, is what I'm saying.
Gage, I'd have to get negative 80 points for me to even come behind you for that game. So
my games haven't released yet.
For you to what? For you to what?
Okay,
Whoa.
That's a friendly podcast, dude.
Jesus.
Got a couple of games that released. Oh, wait, hold on. Fucking Ubisoft, man. I forgot that you could pay like $100 to play Star Wars Outlaws early. The game technically isn't fucking out yet until tomorrow.
Right.
Scummy. Star Wars Outlaws released on OpenCritic, of course. Didn't release on OpenCritic. Sorry, it released, and as mentioned earlier, the OpenCritic score is 77. I think, if I remember correctly. I can just scroll down, can I?
Yeah.
Yep, hasn't registered yet. But I would be at 110 points if that is the case. Ro just had Visions of Mana release as well. That comes out tomorrow, but reviews are out. Was that 75 originally? I don't know if it's gone up. Let's see.
Just a
Visions
little.
of Mana, 78. Yeah, absolutely. 8 points for Ro. He'll have 116 points. And then Squirrel with a Gun also releases tomorrow, but no word on
Reviews.
reviews for that.
Brother.
Just yet. Yeah, exactly. That would put Ro in first place, me in second, Dan in third. Of course, Gage, as Dan says, just hoping a game comes out this year. Yeah. As a friendly reminder, fourth place this year has to eat some hot wings on stream.
Oh
Get
shit!
ready, dude.
You've got Towerborn also that won't release this year, Gage.
I can't drop it either.
Fuck.
Uh-oh.
That
It
sucks.
was supposed to release this year.
I just got a text from an unknown number that said, "Why did you stop communicating with me?"
Well,
Is that the
Seems like
strawberry
spam.
guy?
Seems like who the fuck is the strawberry guy?
Nothing. Never mind.
I want to know.
It's okay. We can move past it.
Tell
Christian-
me.
Christian, what are you and Ro doing for your last counter pick? You guys still have counter
I
picks.
got a plan.
And Persona
I
3
just
Persona 3 Reload, right? For
not a bad idea. I just made one while on the page, so hopefully it goes through.
So it
if
goes through.
Christian
Okay.
might outbid you though.
I know, but depends on what he chose.
It's true.
Ro still needs 3 more games to fill out his sheet.
That's the scary part.
Still got the
Looking
Plucky
at the
Squire coming out.
That's true.
Dragon Ball's looking hot.
Rose also got about $500,000 in his bank right now to spend whatever the fuck he wants now on whatever games he wants.
Somebody counterpicked Dragon Age the Veilguard for me. I forget who did that. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Bro wants to lose at this point.
You know what's crazy too? I was confident when I made that counter pick because I was like, "Oh, Bioware is not what it's used to. Not what it used to be." Blah blah. I recently saw a clip on Twitter of like gameplay of it, and I'm like, "Fuck, this looks good." I've made a
Yeah,
horrible mistake.
yeah, it looks fucking great. October 31st. All right, before we close with the show, what you got for me, Daniel? What you been up to?
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Not a whole lot of any. I did play a couple runs of Hades when I had some in between time, and I'm still
in between Halo Infinite matches.
That's true. That's fair.
And gooning in
And-
between Halo and
Well,
gooning.
and playing with the boys and playing, played up,
Right,
the normal
true.
stuff, pummel party when everybody's fucking doing the most damage to Dan, yet throughout the entire match I hear about how Dan's not getting hit at all, and Dan's in first place, yet Dan's in third place. But yeah,
You were
I
in
mean,
first place at the time of that attack.
I'm
You
not
were in
salty.
first place. This guy doesn't understand that cups and coins determine first place.
That's fair, but I was only up there for like 5 minutes.
That's true.
Bro?
Yes, sir. What I got?
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Wow.
I have played nothing.
Respect.
Nothing at all. No respect. I don't deserve anyone's respect.
Which is this is I can't believe Uncle Mark called this gamers. Like this Road plays nothing.
Right.
My God.
What I'd expect out of a bunch of non-gamers.
And Dan just
should've
fucking
been-
buys game to sit on his fucking in the cellophane.
That's fair, actually.
I should have been better at cornball if that was the case. But
Cornball.
cornball, what is it called?
Cornhole.
Cornhole.
Incredible.
That's a comment I'd expect from a non-gamer.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I've been doing a secret project. I'm gonna tell you guys. Over the past 2 months, I played through the entirety of both Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty for a long-term video project. So I got through those a couple of days ago, And yeah, I maybe judged the game a little bit too harshly. A lot of faults, I still think, with the way that game treats its themes of cyberpunk. Still iffy on the way Johnny is portrayed. I also think some of the writing in that game is weird, man. Like, it feels like who's that fucking company? It feels like the bygone era of like what RPG decisions are in games. Like, this is the good answer and this is the bad answer. Right. It's like, okay, this is the team that did The Witcher 3, where like, gray area was what made that game so special, and Cyberpunk is not that for me. Some stuff that was really good. I think the character relationships that you form over the course of a game is really good. And by the time I got to my ending, I was like, you know what? I like the way it came together. Even if the execution of it was flawed, I think the closing was really strong. I went with the Pan Am ending. Pan Am was cool. Mm-hmm. And also Phantom Liberty, pretty good, pretty fun. Pretty fun. Idris's performance in Phantom Liberty would go from like, this is fucking sick, to this guy's fucking phoning it in. It's crazy. It rocks. Very fun. And then I also started playing Black Myth Wukong, which is a fake game. A fake game that's also really fucking fun. Anytime you're out in the open world fighting the like mobs of enemies, it's like, this is such a fucking fake game. And then you fight a boss fight and it's like, wow, I am locked the fuck in. That felt great. So, pretty good.
Is it actually a fake? I feel like that's a pretty like serious thing to throw at a game. Like we live in the world where Abandoned exists.
Abandoned is the actual fake game, yeah.
Right, and what's the other survival DayZ one that came out not too long ago that turned out to be like that? I can't remember.
The day after, right?
Day before, right? Like we do live in a time where
that's a fake game, sure.
Right, like I don't know, but that's what have I been playing? What's going on?
What's going on?
Party Pummel and
Pummel Party.
Pummel Party and Lethal Company. Listen, our indies back. We joke every weekend, but I don't know about you guys, but specifically Lethal Company. I'm playing it. We've been trying to get up and have these little game sessions at least once a weekend. And when I'm playing Lethal Company and we play it for like 2.5 hours, we're like, all right, what are we gonna switch to something else? I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If somebody had said let's keep playing Lethal Company for another 2.5 hours, I would without hesitation be like, yeah, sure, let's keep going. I don't know what it is about this game. I'm falling in love with it the exact same amount that when we first played it. Like, this game is so good, and like to our conversation earlier about like pixel pushing and all these, every game's got to look awesome and how it detriments the game. Like, man, graphics are you don't realize it until you're playing a game that has such a good core gameplay loop, but graphics are such a additive. Like, it's not necessary at all to a fun experience. And Lethal Company, I think, is a great example of that. As the most janky looking game, but oh my god, is it fun to play.
Well, and it's very social too.
Absolutely. And we're jumping in, we're testing the waters with some mods. We haven't gotten too crazy. We only have like four or five mods installed, but like, man, I'm playing it and I'm like, this is the future of gaming. This is PC gaming, man.
That Mimic mod is fucking awesome, dude. Because I knew what it was, and then just seeing you guys, it's great. It's great.
I've been getting some good clips.
What's that mod that like mimics your voice and shit?
That's the Skinwalker, isn't it?
Yeah, Skinwalker.
Oh, have we encountered that? Because I feel like
I heard one once. I didn't see it, and it was when we were leaving an alien planet, or whatever. I heard like another one of you talk, Daniel, somewhere else. I was like, I already watched Dan die. I know he's not fucking alive.
That's crazy.
We should look at more mods. We should get like two more.
We should lock in and try and actually like progress. And buy some of these late stage like upgrades.
How about this? I'll watch a fucking YouTube strategy video. Top 10 tips for Lethal Company. I'll fucking min-max this shit. I want the zap gun. I want the teleporter. I want the fucking little car.
Yep. That's what I want.
I'll lock in.
I mean,
let's lock the fuck in this Saturday.
That sounds great, Christian, but then you'll have Garrett try to make a little jump across a bridge and then he'll fall to his death.
And that's
Or
the
he'll
fun.
just-
and that's the
Or
fun.
he'll just murder me when I'm AFK
That's
in the
fair.
safety of the ship,
Yeah.
and he'll just turn and beat me to death with a shovel for no reason, and show zero remorse for his actions.
You know what you do in that scenario?
Bleed out?
Take a swig.
No.
Oh my god.
You know what would be really scary though, guys? If Ro joined us.
That would be
Terrifying.
so scary, dude. I don't. That would be crazy.
You're not down for that?
Too scared.
All right, lads. Not lads. Excuse me. Audience. Michael, Joshua, Keurig. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube, Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Pods, YouTube Music, Spotify. Cool. Dan's nodding. And everywhere else you get your pods. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, me. That's Gage. That's Daniel. And this has been Podcast PXN, and we are signing off for the day.
Much love and keep on gaming.
See ya.